Clark.
My debut 1990 September, Bristol City away. To get that opportunity, what thousands of Geordies only dream of.
Lee Clark 1-0.
Williams.
My first goal for Sunderland away at Leicester was a left foot volley. I didn't realise my left foot was for kicking the ball with as well. I thought it was just for standing it.
Williams! Darren Williams for Sunderland.
Hignett.
Playing against Chelsea and to score the first goal there is something that still lives with me now, and it's what most people will talk to me about.
Picked up the ball. Running in. You beauty! You Scouser Teesside beauty!
Worshipped every weekend. It's the three legends. Banter and rivalry across the North East. On the Toon, the Cat, the Red.
It is the three legends, Darren Williams, Lee Clark, Craig Hignett. Good evening, gentlemen. How are we doing?
Good evening, guys.
Thank you.
All good. Evening, lads.
Evening, lads.
Evening. Well, we've got a busy weekend for some this weekend. Newcastle have got a weekend off. So Lee, just put your feet up. It'll be all right.
Yeah. I'll do that, Daz. I'll just get on the champagne, will I?
Why not? It's Friday night, 6:00. Why not? So I thought we'd start tonight. Just having a look at the transfer market. We're what, 13 days away now to the end of the transfer window. Obviously, Boro have done some decent business so far. Higgy, you would say, with Finn Azaz, Luke Ayling. Rumours around Morgan Rogers going today, Hayden Hackney, etc. But it's maybe Sunderland and Newcastle that we need to look at, because there's not much business gone on there, and there's rumours here and there. Daz, I thought we'd start with Sunderland. How are you feeling at the moment about the whole transfer window? There's the Jan Mavilla, I suppose, is the sort of the biggest rumour there. But there's not a lot else happening, is there?
Yeah, it's very disappointing, mate, to be quite honest. Very quiet. I think, the fans are getting a bit restless, to be quite honest. It's been common knowledge, since the start of the season that, we've been needing a striker. We're into middle of January now. Probably nearly 3/4 of the way through, and there's rumours, but rumours are no good, are they? It's when they've dotted the I and crossed the T, then happy days. But for me, it's too quiet. It's too quiet. I'm hoping it's quiet for a reason, because we're going about our business in a quiet manner, and that they are talking to a few players behind the scenes, but it ain't looking good, mate, to be quite honest. Yeah. I mean, and Villa, he's not an out and out striker. Let's be honest, he's a midfielder. Why
33?
Why there's hype about him, I don't know. Obviously, there's Kiefer Moore, but as we had a brief chat beforehand, there's a lot of teams looking at him. And for me,
do you think Villa's started the rumours himself?
I think potentially, mate. I think your agents could be out there, couldn't they? Just starting rumours off and and trying to light some fires type of thing, but. It's a difficult one, mate. Like we discussed, with the Kiefer Moore situation, when there's teams battling away, obviously mentioning the lad, Sunderland, we're not really competing with teams for signings. We've made that common knowledge that we're not just going to go out and splash the cash and get in as many players as we can. So for me, I think, if that's the case, and if we are speaking to Kiefer Moore, and if there is that all those teams after him, I can't see him come to us, to be quite honest.
Do you know what is, though, it does? What the saddest thing about that is for me is if Sunderland were to stump up the cash for Kiefer Moore and got an agreement where he was allowed to speak to him, I think they'd have a good chance of seeing him. In terms of you get him to the Stadium of Light, you get him to the Academy of Light, you see the infrastructure, the facilities the club has. You try and sell that ambition that they do want to get to the Premier League. They do have this model of young and up and coming players. But I think if it's one of them, when we managerial hat on, if they were to get him up to the North East and say, yeah, listen, this is a club you could be playing for, even in the position that they're in now, 40,000 plus at the Stadium of Light and this training facility, you would have a good chance. And that's not being disrespectful to other clubs at Ipswich, because he's obviously going to think about going there because they're in second place and could be back in the Premier League in 3 or 4 months' time. You know what I mean? But sometimes you have to think of ways out the box, and in terms of the infrastructure and the facilities that Sunderland have, they can compete with any Championship club now in terms of attracting the players. They just have to show the players the ambition. So, and what they've got to do is show the ambition to the players by, because he's not going to come cheap. You know, they're not daft. The selling club, they know there's 5 or 6 clubs in for him. There could be a little bit of a bidding war on, and sometimes you have to, especially for strikers, you know, you do sometimes have to pay over the odds to get those strikers in, because ultimately, whatever we say, you know, they're the players that change games. They're the players that change seasons. Because if you're a Championship club, you've got a 25 goal a season man, you've got a good chance of getting promoted, haven't you?
Yeah, of course you have.
Do you think the model does? Do you think the model works against them when they're trying to sign people like Kiefer Moore? Because he's not, for me, he wouldn't fit the criteria. But if they signed him, you know, as an older player, say, are you thinking, well, I'm going to be playing with younger players predominantly here. There's not going to be too many people who are going to be my age.
No, well, this is the thing, mate, and I think that they may have to look at the model and the way they're going about things, because we know we've got a young side. There's plenty of youth in there, but obviously there's not that dribble of experience, and obviously like you say, we need some experience in there. We've got we're like you guys have been. We've got Sirkin out, Huggins out, Evans, Embleton, Dak, Roberts. Elise's going to be a late check for the week for tonight. Sorry. We've got a few coming into the side, but as we spoke about week in, week out, we're desperate for a striker. And they've got to start and maybe push the boat and maybe just open up a little bit, because I think what we've been looking at. Obviously, we've been looking at loan players. Obviously, people on free, etc. This, that, and the other. And you may get lucky once, but you've got to start and compete. If your ambition is to be in the Premier League, we need to start to compete with teams, and from a financial point of view, I think we were somewhere like 16th in the table, from obviously the money side of things, on what we spent or what the squad amounts to. And that's not really competing to get back into the Premier League.
I think you're right. I think the model in what Higgy's saying as well, it can work to a certain extent, but you do then have to have the sprinkling of the senior players or the game changers as well. And any team that's going to be successful, I'm not sure how many there is, if there's any, that have been successful without a top striker in terms of getting goals, contributing, making the team get up the pitch. And you do have to pay that premium for those players, those strikers. I can go back to my managerial days, when I was at Huddersfield. We went out as a League One club and spent 350 grand on Jordan Rhodes, which was mega money. Everyone's like, wow, that's mega money at the time. But he proved he's worth his weight. He then 4 years down the line, he goes to Blackburn for 9 million. So if you've got someone now. Hey, by the way, I got lucky, and the reason I got lucky with Jordan was I was assistant manager to Glen Road down at Norwich, and Jordan was at Ipswich, and I seen Jordan a couple of times play for Ipswich's youth team against Norwich, and I just seen this kid who loved scoring goals. I think he scored 5 in 2 games against Norwich's youth team, and I thought, keep an eye on him. And when the chance was there to go and sign him, and I looked at his record when he'd been on loan at Brentford down in League One. But we, for a League One club at that time, to spend 350 grand on a striker was mega money. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
I'm just saying
that.
Well, Kiggy, you need to pay these premium for these lads. So these strikers, and especially in January, you're going to pay over the top in anyway.
Yeah, of course you are, mate. Of course you are.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, it's not exciting anymore, is it? This transfer market,
it's been boring, isn't it? This January.
Totally. I used to love, like, you know, look, watching it and seeing how different players are going here, there, you know, and obviously the excitement, obviously fans getting excited about it, this and the other, but it's just been absolutely flat as a pancake. You know, there's been nothing.
There's one for
to
you.
go off.
So, Ahmed Jallo's been linked with Middlesbrough, hasn't he, to go on loan?
Yeah.
How would you feel if Boro got him?
Mate, I'd be devastated. Because he is a fantastic player, mate, and he was a fantastic. Well, as you know, he was a fantastic addition to the squad last year. You know, changed games for us. You know, when realistically we could have probably ended up getting beat. You know, and he is a game changer. You know, he's a fantastic talent, and I think that'd be a massive blow, mate. To be quite honest, for the Sunderland fans as well. You know, seeing him go, you know, to Middlesbrough down the road and thinking, you know,
do you think they'd still be in for him, even though it's another loan?
I'd like to think so, mate.
Or do you think
I'd like
the
to
boat
think
sailed
so, but
and
I have
one in permanent?
Well, this is the thing, mate. I'd like to think they'd still want him on loan, but I think, you know, realistically with a player like him, you know, you'd love to get him permanent. You know, let's be honest.
He was a game changer for you last season, wasn't he?
Mate, he was different gravy, mate. Honestly, it was, you know, just watching him was, you know, it was exciting. You know, he made the game exciting. You know, you wanted to get him on the ball. I think everybody wanted to get him on the ball, but that then is infectious, and you know, it spreads around the team. You know, and this is what I say about, you know, players like that. You know, like your Roberts and your Diallos and that. You know, they excite players. You know, your Clarks. You want to get them on the ball. It lifts the fans. It gets everyone going, but. We need something this before the end of January because it has become really, really flat.
On the other hand, are you worried about anyone coming and taking your better players?
Do you know, I was, mate, prior to the game against yourselves, Newcastle, and then I was thinking, you know, I went away from that thinking
maybe it's a reality check.
I don't think these guys are ready. You know, I don't think they're ready for that. And I think if they went up, you know, there'd be bit part players, you know, wherever they went. And that's no disrespect to them because you know, they're talented players. But I just think
they've still got loads of time.
It's too far. Yeah, 100%, mate. You know,
I tell you what they should do from that game is say, right, okay, I'm at a massive club in the Championship, like we've just talked about what can happen with the Kaifa Moore stuff, with the infrastructure. I need a bit more time here to learn the trade and improve and get to the level that was required, and I think that would be a good thing for those youngsters to take from that. I'm not saying that, you know, the ones that were mentioned, Clark, Bellingham, Dan Neil, they can at one day get to that level. I think they can. There's certainly ability there.
Of course they can, mate.
But at this moment in time, they're just falling a little bit way short, aren't they? So you know, there's no harm
in a funny way, that game might have done Sunderland a favour, mightn't it?
I think I think so, mate. I think from a point of view of keeping, you know, those type of players, definitely. Yeah. You know, in hindsight, it probably has, mate. And like I say, you know, like he's just said, you know, it doesn't mean that they're never going to get there. You know, it just means that they're not ready at this time. You know, and like you said,
but I think everyone understands that with Sunderland because they are so young. You know, they have got a really young group, haven't they? But they're all talented players and they can all do things. And you can see that with where Sunderland are in the league as well now. You know, they're still on the edge of the playoffs. So,
of course, mate. I mean, they're still on the edge of the playoffs. You know, you look at the games that get beaten, mate, and half the time it's just being naive. You know, we give away you know, a silly free kick last week. You know, it cost us a goal. You know, slack marking it in the box. You know, it's just like naivety. You know, young lads. You know, in those areas you think, well, don't you know? Because we just had a fantastic chance just prior to that. You know, and then they go down the other end, we give a silly free kick away, you know, we concede a goal. You know, so that's where we, you know, when we say about the sprinkler of experience, you know, that's where them heads come into it. You know, it's, you know, and it's needed. You know, it's needed, and like we say, you know, they're going to have to break the barrier a little bit, and you know, and get somebody in.
How did you see the game last week? Sorry, Higgy, go on, you pal.
I'm just saying, my worry is not for so much in the Championship, but if Sunderland managed to get up into the Premier League, and by the way, they could. There's not saying they couldn't. They could. Then does that model then change in the Premier League? Because the model they've got now of buying young players, that isn't going to be sustainable in the Premier League. You're never going to be able to stay in it. You're always going to come down, aren't you? So at what point do they look at the model and think, well, we'll tweak it here, or do you think that only happens if they go up into the Premier League?
I think you'd have to if they went up, mate. Yeah, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt. I think you'd have to take a step back and have a look at it, and and refigure things out, because like we've seen, the gulf is was massive the other week. So for me, yeah, the idea is probably another year in a championship and keep building slowly, but. You know what fans are like. Fans are eager and want to get back up there as soon as possible. But if that's a model and if that's the way they're going, then they need to be a bit more transparent. And say it how it is. But for me, yeah, I think if they go up, mate, yeah, they do have to change the model a little bit.
Daz, I was just going to ask you, how did you see the game last week? Obviously, Ipswich second in the league, and what did you see in terms of the match itself? Were they far superior than Sunderland, or was it a close game? Or
I didn't think there was a massive gulf there, mate. I didn't think there was a big difference. I mean, don't get me wrong. Ipswich are a good side. Sunderland. Like we said, we created chances. Like I said, just prior to them getting the second goal, we had a fantastic opportunity. Missed it. Go down the other end, give a silly free kick away, lose your man in the box. It's a header in the back of the net. But one of the smallest players on the pitch. Which is again, naivety. It's for me. I think a draw would have been great, to come away with. But I just saw Ipswich kind of edge the game at times. That they look comfortable. They were more of a threat. I think just the end product for us, mate, is a disappointing outcome.
Yeah.
Just before we move on, I just wanted to ask Lee, there's, in terms of the transfer market, and I know you're as frustrated as Daz is as at Sunderland, because there's not a lot happening, isn't it? Is there? And there's a lot of talk about go-ins. Will Joe Linton go? There's rumours today about Kieran Trippier to buy in. There's rumours about Edison coming in, but that's a huge amount of money. And the whole Calvin Phillips thing, off and on. How frustrated are you, Lee, about the business that Newcastle don't seem to be doing?
I'm not frustrated in terms of from the club point of view, as I'm frustrated because I keep thinking I've got the cusp. I understand FFP, then all of a sudden something else pops up, and then I haven't got a clue. So I'm thinking, like, God, I'm miles away from this. Do you know what I mean? And so when there's talk that we cannot even, because of FFP, we cannot afford the 5 million loan fee for Calvin Phillips. I'm starting to then wonder and think, wow. And I know Darren Eales came out and explained a few things the week and talked about the revenues that we have in comparison to not just top six teams and Tottenham, who are in there at the moment, but they've always been on the fringes, which is their revenues are nearly double ours and stuff like that. That puts it into perspective. But it is frustrating, like you say, but how the tables have turned now, because when the new ownership came in, it was about the players and the superstars we're going to bring in, but the players who've done ever so well for us now, the high profile players, the last few weeks has just been talk about them leaving. So there's been talk Bruno, £100 million release clause, Paris Saint-Germain, Real Madrid, Liverpool, obviously, as you mentioned, Kieran Trippier today, Bayern Munich looking at him. He's already went abroad and been successful with Atletico Madrid. Sean Longstaff, because he's a homegrown player, so all the profit from him can go back into the FFP pot or whatever. Yeah. And then Joe Linton, from a good friend of mine at the Daily Mail, Craig Hope, talking that he's probably going to have surgery, won't play again this season, and he kind of come to an agreement with Newcastle in terms of a new contract, because he's asking for too much money, so they'd be looking to sell him in the summer with a year left. So this is all very confusing and very worrying, actually, because it just shows you what the new ownership are having to put up with because of the lack of commercial productivity under the previous ownership, in terms of getting lots of commercial deals in. So the club was working on a better basis, just rather than the old owner putting his other company all around the stadium and whatever it was. So that's come back to bite on the backside. So yeah, it's for me.
Clarky, you would think they'd have people who were all up to date with all that stuff. Even when Mike was there, you would think that somewhere on the horizon, unless they knew he wasn't going to spend the money, but he did spend a few quid. But you would think that would come back and be detrimental to the club, wouldn't you? If you weren't having those revenue streams and your revenue was nowhere near what the top clubs were, and you would wonder to yourself, how are we going to compete further down the line? Or don't you think they thought that far ahead?
I don't think they thought that far ahead, Higgy, but also that gives you the example why that ownership under Mike's reign came out and publicly said we're happy to finish fourth bottom. Twice we weren't lucky enough to finish fourth bottom and got relegated in his 14 years, and then we were fighting relegation battle after relegation battle, and when we had the chance to bring opportunities in, when Alan Pardew got into Europe that year, he went 7 games on the bounce, winning 7 on the bounce, and we all know how difficult that is to do at any level, never mind Premier League. And what did Mike Ashley do to scupper it? He announced that he was naming St James's Park the Sports Direct Arena. So whenever time there was any type of success happening, which were small things during his reign, he seemed to scupper it by trying to get his other company the most coverage he possibly could. So, and that's come to bite the new owners on the backside massively. By what my understanding is, Higgy, as I said, I'm really probably as confused as a man on the street, and I like to think I've got good knowledge of the game and what's going on, but this FFP's got me bamboozled at the minute as far as Newcastle's got concerned, because I don't understand what's going on,
It's got to be so frustrating for everybody, isn't it, Clark?
Well, I think it is, Daz. I think you're right. And I listened to Gary O'Neill, and he was saying lots of good things about why Wolves never spent any money in the summer, and they sold 3 high-profile players, Jimenez, Neves, and one other, for big money, because they had to balance the books, and they could see what was coming towards them in terms of a potential, deduction of points or a big fine, like what's happened with Forest and Everton, And that must be so difficult. Let's put ourselves in Sean Dyche's shoes at this moment in time. Without those deductions, he'd have them in the top 8. They'd be having a terrific season. I think he's trying to keep the players focused and just say that all they can handle is and focus on is getting results. But I don't know. But then all of a sudden we get like as Daz said, we'll get linked with Edison there, 34 million. I'm thinking, well, how can we afford a young kid from Brazil for 34 million, but we cannot afford a loan fee for 5? I don't know. I know I wasn't one of the brightest at school, but it's still making it a bit difficult for us. Like,
and Higgy, you must be pleased with Boro's business so far. Finnazaz, Luke Ayling looking good at the weekend, and all this talk today about Morgan Rogers going to Villa. Were you surprised by that one?
Yeah, very surprised. I think the Morgan Rogers one he scored 6 goals this season. 4 of them have been in the cup. Up until Chelsea, I don't think they played anyone of note in there. They were down at Port Vale in the last round where he scored a great goal. I know he scored another one down at was it Exeter where they played. And he's getting better. He looks like he's getting better, but there's a bit like the lads at Sunderland. He's obviously got talent and ability, but I don't think he's ready for the certainly where Aston Villa are at this moment in time. But the talk is, they sign him and then loan him back for the season or whatever. I think what'll happen with that one is Borough will ask for 15 but want 10. Villa will offer 5 but will probably go to 8. And you'll get a little bit of negotiation between the 8 and the 10 million. He'll probably go for 8 million in the end, something like that. That's how I see that happening. Would I sell him? Yes, I would. I think I would let him go for around 8 million. I know Manchester City have got a sell on, but I'm sure Borough will put a sell on the other end as well when he goes to Villa. because I think they've got plenty of players who can play there. Finn Azaz, he looks a really good player. He's a number 10. He does it a little bit like Akpom used to. Comes in little areas, gets turned, really creative. I've liked the look of him, certainly. Luke Ayling, really solid right back. Boro were, I thought they were in need of a right back. Tommy Smith's been injured. He's out for the full season. They've tried Vandenberg there, who's really a centre half. So to get a proper one in Luke Ayling, I think is really good. Yeah. And then, like I say, they've got Riley McGree to come back. Marcus Force has just come back from injury as well. So they've got plenty of people, Sam Greenwood, who can play sort of in and around that area. So I don't think it'll be a massive loss to Boro. And I think if they can get the type of money that they're talking, then, fair play to them. I would do it. They make a profit and they move on, and they've got other players who can play in that area.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You can get in touch with the Three Legends on our WhatsApp on 0330 or 043 2002. Our friend Dave, the boss, has been in touch. He's out in Dubai at the moment, and he's just messaged lads to say, this is Dave in Dubai here. I'd like to know if the lads are enjoying winter. There's no need for that, is there? No need.
Every time Dave goes away, he comes back with an illness. So
go on.
Are we taking it in turns for Dubai?
Clarky was first.
Must be a company trip, is it?
Yeah. We've also had a message from Rob, who's been listening to the transfer talk, and he said, "This is a question for all three. Have you ever signed for a club but instantly regretted it?" That's a good question.
Instantly no.
Well, yeah.
Instantly no. After 2 weeks, no, not 2 weeks. I'm going to say 2 months. Yes, but that was I signed for Aberdeen, didn't I? From Boro on a free.
Yeah.
Aberdeen promised me certain things in my contract, and obviously when I got up there, started playing, none of them things come true. And I just, at the time, I had 2 kids who lived in Warrington, and the travelling was quite a nightmare, unless they give me the time off that they said they would, and it never ever happened. So after 2 months, I was wanting out. So that was a bit of a nightmare.
I think mine was. It wasn't so much. Obviously, I didn't regret it as such. It was just that I went to Cardiff. On the other side of things, there was a deal to go to Hull at the time, under Peter Taylor, and Adam Pearson was there. Offered terms I was on at Sunderland, plus obviously bonuses etc. on top, and a nice friendly agent messed it all up. So completely messed the deal up, and I ended up being at Cardiff, and then ended up leaving it towards the end of the season because they changed the manager.
Yeah.
Lee, have you
no regrets from me, Daz.
No regrets.
No, 2 years down the line, maybe, but not.
And there's another interesting question here from Keeley on the WhatsApp. Should we have a manager's transfer window to stop quick fire sackings? There's the question.
Well, Troy Deeney, we were talking about Troy Deeney a little bit earlier when he lasted 6 games. Listen, if you're talking about a window for managers, you should go on the transfer windows. So it should be a 2-window contract minimum, shouldn't it?
Yeah,
that's what I'm. If I was going to go in and be guaranteed 2 windows, I think I'd be happy with that. Now some lads don't even get a window; they have to deal with the same players.
They don't even get a month.
Go in. No, well, did he get a month? I mean, I was at Hartlepool and Richard Money got 8 games. Listen, Richard Money got 8 games at Hartlepool, and Troy's beat him by 2 games, and that took some doing, let me tell you.
I don't know about Troy Deeney. He's like Houdini, isn't
he? He will be now.
No, but that would be an interesting concept. Though, wouldn't it? A manager transfer.
It's not a bad idea, actually. It's not a bad idea, but I think because managers have contracts and the contracts get paid up.
Yeah.
I don't think it'd be. Listen, if you had a 2-year contract and you got sacked after a week, you'd be buzzing, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
By the way, lads, Higgy and me, and you've done it Daz has been bright enough not to step into it, but it's when I first took my first job, I got many calls and said welcome to the madhouse, and they were bloody right, I tell you.
Yeah.
And it's actually got worse since then. It's absolute crazy.
Well, I think the average tenure's gone down another month, hasn't it? So it's about 10 and a bit months now.
Yeah,
it's great when I speak to people who, you know, and they say, "Oh, when you were manager, did you move your family with you?" You got to be joking, haven't you? Move my family down to the side of the country for 29 days. That's just a holiday, isn't it?
I spoke right. Do you know what? It is mad because I spoke to a very well-known manager. I won't name him here, but he's very well known up the northeast. And I said to him, he was manager, and we were out one day in a social thing, and I said to him, "Do you ever get down and watch the academy lads?" And he looked at me and he went, "Why would I want to do that?" I said, so you know who's coming through. And he said, "No." He said, they've got no impact on my job. He said, "I might be out here in 6 months, 12 months."
Exactly.
He said, "Why am I going to go and look at an under 14 or under 16-year-old?"
It's the saddest thing in the world, because I think when we were coming through and managers weren't getting sacked willy-nilly and they were getting a longevity, our managers come to watch us play in the youth team and all that, because they knew there was a possibility that further down the line they could use us if we were good enough. And these kids now, especially down even in the lower levels, where it used to be, the lower levels, you used to think like sometimes they didn't have the finances to part ways with a manager. Like you were talking about, Higgy, they couldn't pay the contracts up. But now they're doing it. I mean, what's this? Forest Green could be on their 5th manager this season or something like that. Or 5th manager in the last 18 months. It's just it's just madness. And it's just like you say, it's to the detriment as well if the young players in some of these academies, because managers are going in and saying, "I haven't got a proper shelf life, because I'm what's the point of looking at, like you say, oh, academy director might come and say, I've got this top striker in the under 15s, could be ready for you in 18 months. Well, I probably won't be here in 18 months, so what's the point going looking?"
But it's sad, isn't it? Because how much it is. Because how much would you be buzzing when you see the first team manager watching a game that you're playing in?
Absolutely.
As a kid, a 14, 15-year-old kid going home, having played in front of the manager, you'd be absolutely buzzing. I know I used to be when it happened, when we were a kid and the manager would come and watch. You used to be, you'd be walking on cloud 9 after the game and thinking, well, the manager's coming, he's seen me play and I had a good game. And it gives you such a buzz and such a lift. And it's a real shame if we take that away now. We probably have already. But for me, it's a shame.
No, I totally agree with you. 100% agree with you. I think it's really sad, and that's probably why it's making tougher as well for young kids to come through. I've got it, especially in the lower levels. You get the elite levels, and there's boys there who come through and end up being successful both in career and finances and all that. But the other lads, there's a high percentage of going out the game, etc. And it's a knock-on effect from what we made a joke of it earlier about the tenure and the length of contracts managers are lasting now, but I think that is an issue for the young lads now, 100%.
It is the Three Legends, and you can get in touch with the Three Legends on 0330 or 43 2002. That's our WhatsApp number. Drop us a WhatsApp if you've got any points or questions you'd like to ask Darren Williams, Lee Clark, Craig Hignett, our Three Legends. We'll be back with more Legend Talk right after this. Hey, how do you fancy winning a 3-month radio advertising campaign on the Cat, the Toon and the Red? Well, to celebrate the new year, we're offering a 3-month radio advertising campaign for businesses in the North East, all for free. Full details are on our websites, thecatuk.com, thetoonuk.com and thereduk.com. You're listening to The Cat, the Toon and the Red, and so are your customers. So come and get your business heard with free advertising on The Cat, the Toon and the Red to over 1.6 million people in the region. Those websites again, it's easy. thecatuk.com, thetoonuk.com and thereduk.com.
Whoa, Celestial, Celestial Windows. Whoa, Celestial, Celestial Windows. Whoa, Celestial, Celestial Windows. Whoa, Celestial, Celestial Windows. Windows, conservatories and so much more. With high security, great quality. on. Hello, I'm Phil Collins.
Hi, this is Lionel Richie.
This is not just any old 80s show. Join me for 80s Mint. 2 hours of the best 80s music and memories. Right here, every Saturday night from 9 and Mondays from 6. It's the three legends. Across the Northeast, Clark, legend. Williams, legend. Hignett, legend. WhatsApp us, call or send a voice message. Banter at its best. 033 00 43 2002.
Right across the Northeast, the Toon, the Cat and the Red.
It is the three legends on the Cat, the Toon and the Red. And it just so happens that we've got a game this evening, Daz. Sunderland Michael B is looking for a strong response from his side against Hull tonight after their defeat against Ipswich last weekend, and he wants them to be more ruthless with their chances. Hull have not had they got beat as well last weekend off Norwich, knocked out of the cup as well at Birmingham. This has got a draw written all over it, hasn't it, Daz?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the the stats, the last few games. I mean, Hull have won one in the last 6, drawn 1, lost 4. I think one of those losses was against Sunderland. Sunderland have won 2, drew 1, and obviously lost 3. So yeah, for me, it's down to the end product again. From Sunderland. If we can get that end product on the night, I quite fancy us. But I think it's going to be a difficult one, mate. It was a difficult game down there, just around the Christmas period. We grinded the game out. And we come away with all 3 points, which was brilliant. But for me, Hull are not too far away. Even though they've had a bad run there. They're a difficult side to create chances. They score some goals as well. To be quite honest. I think it's going to be a tough one, mate. It's a cold night, isn't it? Let's hope. There's a bit of cheer from the Sunderland fans to warm them up.
Yeah, I mean,
an interesting one for me, Daz, tonight for Hull. Well, obviously with my boy being at Liverpool is Fabio Carvalho coming in at Hull.
Aye. Yeah.
I mean, a superb talent. Done unbelievable a few years ago when he helped Fulham get promotion from the Championship to the Premier League.
Aye.
Looked a sensational talent. Went for about 6-7 million to Liverpool. Scored some important goals, done some important things, but Jurgen then decided had to loan him out, and he's had a couple of loans that haven't particularly worked well for him. But my old teammate at Fulham, Liam Rossignol, now doing really good job at Hull. I was listening to his coach through the week, spoke very highly of him, and be interesting to see how he does, because if he can hit the heights that he did for Fulham a couple of years ago, could be a massive player in the Championship.
Yeah, he could be, mate. He'll be a threat. For me, I think it's a difficult one. There's just talk of obviously Mayenda starting, potentially. Rusan starting. Roberts is still out, and obviously Dak's still out. So we're missing them too. Obviously, there's been the rumour of obviously Pembele possibly being in the side, but these guys are just coming back into the fray, and it's I think it's always difficult to shove somebody straight back in. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. I don't think it's going to be a fantastic.
He has one for you, Daz. The boy Rig, who's ridiculously young. Is he still 16?
Yeah, he's I think he's still 16, mate. Yeah.
That's ridiculous, by the way. Is he worth an opportunity to start? Would he make a difference? what's his attributes? What does he bring to the team?
When I've seen him, mate, I think he's a good impact player at his age, at that age, to come on. He's came on
still
a couple
a baby
of
and
games
he's
and
16.
scored.
Jesus.
Yeah, I think he plays without fear, mate. That's the thing about him. I think he plays on adrenaline without fear. He gets himself in some good positions. He's very skillful on the ball.
Why I'm asking you, mate, is would you not sometimes, when you've had a couple of indifferent results, is it maybe just throw him in because he's got that no fear factor? The reason I say I'd done the same thing. I had young Damari Gray, and I gave him his debut with Birmingham at 16, and we played Stoke, who were Premier League at the time, in the Carabao Cup, and he was sensational. And I never took him out of the team after that because he just played without that fear, and he had that arrogance and confidence. I've just come out of school 6 months ago and I'm now playing in the Championship. And I was thinking, could that happen with Rig, or has he got the physical capabilities to deal with that at the minute? Or
I don't think his frame and the way he looks, mate, he hasn't got the physical side of things. He's a skillful lad. He gets on the ball. He can score a goal. He scored a couple of goals, obviously, for the club. He runs beyond. He's one of those type of midfielders who gets beyond. He gets in the attack and third, and like you say, he plays with no fear. So he's not frightened to have a shot. He's not frightened to take a chance. Potentially, he could come in. Whether tonight would be a good idea against Hull, I don't know, mate, because I just feel Hull could be quite physical at times. He may get lost in it. But yeah, I agree with you, mate. I think sometimes you've got to give these lads the opportunities. Otherwise, you're never going to know how they are and how they deal with things.
I just get the feeling sometimes that they don't fear anything. They don't really understand, not in a bad way, the importance of what's happening. And they just treat it like as if they're playing in the youth team and stuff like that. They've got that little bit of
they're not battle worn, are they?
Youngsters.
Everything's new and exciting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes they just go on there, and sometimes they just go on there and they go, and it's like you said, it's a tough one because it's sink or swim, isn't it? If you were to throw him in and he gets overawed by the whole occasion and the game just passes him by and etc., and you know what it's like in terms of the coverage they get now on social media, it could swallow him up. It is tough. It's a big risk, isn't it, either way? But I'm just saying sometimes is you get that feeling as a manager or a coach and you think, well, you know what, I've got senior lads in there at the moment, they're not doing it, can we not give them this young lad an opportunity? I know he'll go in there without any fear. Yeah, he might get knocked off the ball once or twice because he's physically not up for it. And there'll be that connection with the fans as well, do you know what I mean? Because he's one of them.
Yeah. I think I think ideally mate, it would be great to have him in the side and see how he goes. But I think tonight's about two sides that in the best of forms at the moment. The results are slightly against them. And I think potentially, obviously, for Sunderland to stay in that pack of in and around the playoffs, it's got to be no less than a win tonight.
Can we get some predictions then, please, from you chaps? Daz?
Well, you know me, mate. I always stay positive, don't I? Let's be honest.
True.
I'm going to say it's going to be a tight game. It's definitely going to be a tight game. I'm going to go for 2-1.
Right. Lee?
I'm going 1-0 Sunderland. They had a great result told a couple of weeks ago. I think Jack Clark got the winner then. I think it's going to be, like Daz said, I think it's going to be a really tight game. But I think Sunderland will come out on top. 1-0.
And Higgy, your prediction for tonight?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Daz. I think Sunderland 2-1. I got it right last week against Ipswich.
You did, mate.
So
you did.
Yeah. So I fancy Sunderland tonight, especially with being at home. It is going to be a tight game. I agree with the lads, but I think Sunderland will do it 2-1.
Yeah. I think from a Borough point of view, we're hoping for a draw, 1-1. That would do.
Yeah.
Joining us on the line is Ian Murter from Black and White and Red All Over. Ian's on at 7 tonight. Good evening, Ian. How are you doing?
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm fine. Hope you are as well.
Yeah, we're all We're all good, yeah. We were just chatting about the Sunderland Hull City game tonight. Obviously, before that, there's your big show at 7 tonight on the Cat, the Toon and the Red. What have you got lined up for us?
Yeah, it's a bit strange, isn't it, this week? Because we've got one of our teams playing tonight, one of our teams isn't playing, and one of our teams has 2 games in 4 days, one of which is the biggest game for 20 years. So it's... one of our guests, not surprisingly, is very much Middlesbrough orientated. It's Craig Johns of the Evening Gazette, who'll be covering Rotherham tomorrow, and of course he'll be down at Stamford Bridge for the big game, the biggest game the region's had so far this year. Tonight, Sunderland Hull. Well, it's very difficult to get Sunderland people obviously onto the show tonight because hopefully they're all at the match. So what I've got is Newcastle's official historian, Clark, you will know him very well, Paul Joannou, who there's probably not a man on this planet who knows more about Newcastle. Now, he doesn't know I'm going to do this, but I'm going to ask him which is his favourite era as of a Newcastle team, and also I'm going to ask him to pick his best ever Newcastle 11. So Newcastle might not have a game this week, but there's plenty for Magpies fans to listen to.
Fabulous. That's Ian Murder on Black and White and Red all over tonight on the Cat, the Toon and the Red, straight after the Three Legends at 7. We'll speak to you then, Ian. Thank you.
Will do.
Cheers, Ian.
So as Ian said, the biggest game in 20 years for the Borough, but there's another big game before that, which is Borough Rotherham. Rotherham rock bottom at the bottom of the table. No away wins all season. Higgy, we know what happens when teams come to the Riverside with a record like that.
Do you know what, Daz? I was looking at the table. They've had 3 wins all season, no away wins at all. They've won 1 in the last 16. Who was it against?
The Borough.
1-0. So they beat them 1-0. I think it was Boxing Day. Was that Boxing Day?
It was.
Yeah, Boxing Day, mate. Yeah.
Battered them.
Yeah. So, listen, it's a big game for Borough. Borough need to win. Need to keep the pressure on. I mean, Coventry look like they're going like a rocket, don't they? They've been unbelievable lately. Coventry, they've jumped above Sunderland now, and they're in the playoff spots. If Borough aren't careful, teams could start getting away. You could see West Brom on 45, Borough 6 points behind them. So they need to win. I think they will win. Don't get me wrong. I think they'll have too much for Rotherham. As long as they don't have one eye on Tuesday, and really Tuesday. As a player, you don't want to focus on it because you've got a game before that. But I bet you 1 or 2 of these can't help but have a little look and have a little think about Tuesday and what it's going to be like at Stamford Bridge and the atmosphere there and what it means. So hopefully they'll put that to one side, get the job done against Rotherham, and then we can move on to an exciting Tuesday. But I think they'll win. I do. I think they'll win. I think I'm going to go for 2-0. I think they'll win 2-0, and I've just got a feeling with 2 and a clean sheet and set them up nice for the Tuesday game. But it's never easy. It never is in the Championship, is it? If you're not at it, you can get done, as was shown when we went down there at their place and got beat 1-0. So, but I just think they've got a bit too much. They're on a little bit of a high, Middlesbrough. They look like they're finding their way finally and getting a little bit of consistency to their play, and the results are coming. So
I think there is a feel-good factor around the Borough, it feels like, at the moment, and I don't think it's just the semi-final. We have got players coming back. Saturday against Millwall, they didn't start well. For half an hour they were out of the game, but they came back into it, won the game. I think the 2 signings they've made have come in and made a huge impact already. I think and both of them cup tied as well, which is a problem for Tuesday. So yeah, it was really interesting.
We've got Hayden Hackney coming back, haven't we?
Yeah, we've got Hackney coming back. It's an exciting time.
Chelsea. Yeah, it is. I think I've always said if Borough can get their best players out on the pitch, they'll match anyone in the Championship, and they haven't been able to do that for a vast majority of the season. But now, especially with the couple of signings that have come in, they've helped massively. A couple of lads are coming back from injury, that always helps massively, and things are on the up. And I don't think we've seen them at their best. So, like you said, they've had some really poor first halves where you think, I was at the Swansea game away where they could have been 5 down at half time, but ended up winning that game. You mentioned the Millwall one this weekend where for the first half they were never in the game, and were fortunate to still be in it at half time, but came out, found a way and got a result. So that for me is a good sign. They're not at the best, but they're finding a way to win games.
Yeah, absolutely. And how much do you think players will have that eye on Tuesday? Because obviously Carrick will be very focused, won't he? He'll have his plan for Saturday. He knows the team he's going to put out. He's got everything sorted. But in terms of the players, knowing that there's a semi-final and a possible Wembley around the corner, will it affect them?
Well, you'd like to think not, but players are players, and they're all different characters, and people are, they take things different ways, and I would like to think that you're professional enough to put that to one side and do your job against Rotherham. But one or two might not, and that's always the risk, isn't it? Because it is such a massive game on Tuesday.
I would like to think that the players going out there on Saturday for Boro are playing for the shirts against Chelsea.
You'd like to think,
what I mean? Because I think I think if you go out on Saturday and you have a stinker, but if you go out on Saturday and have a stinker, do you know what I mean? You might not be in the fray for Tuesday anyway. Do you know what I mean? So it's
well, listen, you can see it now that the Rotherham manager. If I'm the Rotherham manager, I'm saying, listen, let's get wired in from the start. Let's see if one or two of these fancy this with Tuesday coming up, and if they do, fair play to them. If not, then it's a result for Rotherham, isn't it? So.
Of course.
That'd be my team talk. If I was a Rotherham manager, that'd be like, listen, let's get wired in and let's see what these are all about, if they really fancy it or not. But I hope they do, because listen, they've got a lot of good experience. Johnny House and people like that aren't going to let players just drift through the game. I think the good thing about Middlesbrough is they've got one or two who can get on people's backs and say, hey, this isn't good enough, let's crack on with it. They won't just drift through a game. I think they've got enough leaders there to see what's happening and do something about it on the pitch. Or I'd like to think they have anyway.
Daz, what do you reckon for Boro versus Rotherham at the weekend?
I just think I know obviously you got beat away from home, but I don't think in any way, shape or form you should have been beat away from home. But I'm gonna go 3-0, mate. I went, I thought last week you'd win 3-1, and you did. And at one point Newcastle were winning 2-1, which I said they would, and I was just about to I was pulling my hair out. I was thinking, why haven't I put this bet on? But then it was okay because Sunderland let me down anyway, so it was but yeah, I'll go 3-0, mate.
Very good. And Lee?
I'm going to heed Higgy's warning from previous weeks and go 3-1 Boro. I would like to say 3-0, but he's convinced me they kind of keep a clean sheet, so I'm going to go 3-1.
I've just said 2-0.
I know, but you've changed your mind. I remember everything, mate. 3-1 the Boro, and go into the game against Chelsea full of confidence.
Yeah, and I don't think we can go without sort of talking about that. How are you all feeling about Tuesday night? Obviously, Borough, it's the bread and butter. It's the league. It's 3 points on Saturday, but this is a huge opportunity to get into a final, isn't
it? It's massive. I'll let them two go first, because Tuesday for them is just Tuesday, isn't it? So let them go, and then I'll come with a bit of sense at the end.
I'm actually down in West London. But I'm going to the proper big game on the Wednesday. Fulham against Liverpool. So, listen, I'm always a massive advocate of the North East clubs doing well. I want all three, the big boys, to be back in the Premier League together. Get those derby games going again. and I'd love to see Boro be able to do it. It'll be very tough. Chelsea are so up and down. You think on that day that they're good enough to beat anyone, but then you see some of the performances delivered. Middlesbrough done a great job in the first leg. Do I say score draw and it means the Boro go through? Why not? Let's get one of the northeast teams in there, and and then I've got that obviously horrible dilemma on the Wednesday with my ex-club or my son's new club, so I've got to decide what's going on then. If it means if my son's part of a Carabao Cup winning team and he takes his dad on a nice holiday, I want Liverpool to do it.
Exactly, mate, 100%. It's the same for me. I mean, let's be honest. You look at it. I know there's rivalry between the clubs. Up here, but you want the North East to do well and stand out. And for me, you'd want Middlesbrough in the final. Rather than Chelsea. Let's be honest. We want to get away from that. The London thing. That everybody goes on about. There's good teams up in the North East. And let's hope Middlesbrough do get to the final. That killed me, absolutely killed me.
Oh, I know it did. I could tell it in your voice. You were proper straining and everything.
I was nipping my leg and everything.
I wanted you to carry on. I was going to say nothing just to let you keep going.
Did you nearly start crying at one stage, guys?
I did, mate. Yeah, I did.
Listen. For me, I've still got a chance of a dream final. My dream of final is Boro Liverpool, isn't it? It'd be best of both worlds. It'd be fantastic. Listen, Boro have got a chance after watching Chelsea at the Riverside, and the way Boro played there. And by the way, Boro could have scored more than the one, as Chelsea could have. Let's be honest. Yeah. It's going to be a tough ask. I think it's going to be backs to the wall. If they can show what they showed at the Riverside, I think they'll play the same way. I think they'll probably play a low block, or they'll try and get it a little bit further up the pitch than camped on the edge of their box. And they had some breakaways, Boro, that they could have done a little bit better with. So I think that'll be their game plan going into it. Let's be disciplined defensively. Let's do our jobs properly. Don't give anything stupid away in the first 10 or 15 minutes, which I'm sure they'll come under pressure. But if the fans start to get on Chelsea's back and Chelsea start to run out of ideas a little bit, like they did in the first leg, then it could be a really tricky tie for them.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that Boro go through. I'm desperate for it. I hope the game's a draw. I can see, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that Boro could get something down there.
Yeah.
I just think it'll be really, really difficult for them. But if they do, then what a brilliant achievement it'll be.
I think the first 20 minutes are crucial, aren't they? Because, like you say, Higgy, all it takes is for Boro to come out flying, frustrate them, for them to miss a couple of chances, and that crowd is going to get on their back, as we saw they did at the Riverside. But that home crowd will, and I think that can only play at the Boro's advantage.
Well, it's the
I
other
think
way
it's all
as well.
about the first goal.
Nick a goal. Yeah, if Boro nick a goal early,
exactly. Yeah,
then you think, well, then Chelsea have got to, they might not do it straight away, but they've got to go gung ho then, and there'll be holes everywhere. And Boro have got a bit of pace. Isaiah Jones can get in behind any defence, and if he's away, he's away. It's a really interesting game for me. But the start of the game, and you're dead right, it's massive. The first 20 minutes, I think.
Yeah, I definitely think that first goal will determine the game. Definitely think it.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. It does. I think it's really exciting and fabulous for the fans to go down there. But just imagine a Wembley final to look forward to. It would be incredible.
It would. A Liverpool Boro final. That's your ideal, is it, Craig?
Oh, that's my dream scenario. I get paid to go and watch it.
Well, that's it, lads, for another fantastic Three Legends. Thank you so much for your time tonight, guys. We've got Sunderland versus Hull tonight. We've got the Boro versus Rotherham tomorrow, and then obviously the big one, Chelsea versus Boro in the semi-final. We'll take all that in and we'll reflect on it at the same time again next week, guys. Have a grand weekend. Take it easy.
Cheers,
and
mate.
you too.
Higgy, don't
Have a good
forget,
weekend, lads.
Higgy, don't forget you're in Dubai next week, mate.
Your turn.
It's my turn.
Brilliant. Cheers, man.